Are you persisting with the situation when you would be better served, and perhaps everybody else around you would be better served by you not persisting? You seem to be coming up against stumbling block after stumbling block on your road to a breakthrough. But regardless of those stumbling blocks, one part of you feels, I have to remain determined. I have to keep pushing through. I have to achieve success. I have to achieve this particular outcome that my mind is completely set on, right? The only thing is one part of you isn't really sure if that's wise. Why is that happening? Well, as humans, we seem to have this built-in mechanism that thinks that when we come up against resistance, that one part of us goes, I might be making the wrong choice. But then we have that other side of the equation where we've come up against resistance before, and we've overcome that resistance, and we've reached a level of success, and we've had a breakthrough. So we can never be quite sure from one moment to the next which side of that fence we're on. And in just such a situation, you find yourself at this present moment in time in one particular area of your life or another. Now, what particular area of your life might this relate to? That's going to depend upon what Venus is transiting in your horoscope. Equally, it's going to be related to Mars, the Sun, and Mercury, because they're all key players in this scenario, which we'll touch on more here in a moment. But if you'd like guidance in regards to how to deal with this situation or what it might relate to for you overall, I do offer several different levels of astrological service, and these can be found through the astrological services page of my website. If you're interested in scheduling with me, you can always do that through the link that you'll see above. So here you are, hitting this resistance, not really sure which direction you should go in, not really sure if you should even be involved with this situation at all. Why is this happening to you? Well, as Venus is transiting in retrograde motion through Purva Ashadha nakshatra, it's causing you to more deeply assess your situation in an extremely honest manner, right? When Venus does this, when Venus transits through Purva Ashadha, especially in its retrograde motion like it's doing right now, it's going to make you take a look. It's going to cause you to be, well, more honest with yourself. Now, I'm not by any means suggesting that you always lie to yourself, but quite often we like to sweep things under the rug a little bit and pretend that they don't exist because we just feel a need to get on with things. At the beginning of this particular transit, which starts on the 13th of January, Venus and the Sun are going to be interacting with each other. The Sun will be in Uttada Ashadha nakshatra. Venus is going to be, as we said before, in Purva Ashadha nakshatra. Purva Ashadha is a Kshatriya nakshatra, and the Sun is a Kshatriya planet. Kshatriya energy likes to go about things in a noble way. Dignity becomes very important to that type of energy. And one part of you is afraid of losing face with this situation. You're concerned that if you don't succeed, that somehow you're going to be about as low as that little speck of dust down on the floor. I think it's time for me to vacuum. And you don't want to feel that low. You want to feel like, thousands of feet high. You want to be riding that wave of strength and feeling like, hey, I'm having a breakthrough. I've succeeded. I've come through. You don't want to feel like that little speck of dirt on the floor. But sometimes you have to go as low as that speck of dirt on the floor in order to take a look at things, right? It doesn't mean necessarily that your dignity is taking a hit. It doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you have the humility to look at things in an honest manner. Now, round about the 23rd, Mars will be joining Venus in Mars will be joining Venus and Mars will be in Mula Nakshatra. And with this particular energy, there's an extra level of passion and drive that's adding a little extra oomph to this scenario. And we'll have Mars, Venus, and the Sun all interacting. Now, both Mars and the Sun are Kshatriya planets. And so that energy becomes amplified, and you find yourself round about the 23rd taking a look at the situation that you're in. And after, well, perhaps going through that initial phase of doubt, you're deciding, I just need to ignore that. I need to ignore that because, the thing is if I go into that vulnerable space inside of myself, then I'm not going to be able to achieve what it is that I need to achieve. Then I'll certainly fail, right? And who needs to get all wishy-washy about this? Because you see, both Mars and the Sun are dry planets. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that, if you go to Mars, you'll find a dry environment. If you go to the Sun, you'll find a dry environment. You probably will find a dry environment, in both of those particular areas, right? But that's not the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm talking about the characteristics of the planet. Dry planets just take things as they are. They don't want to get into the emotional scenarios with that. And if you think about the Sun and Mars, they're both leader planets. So they just want to get the job done. They want to look at the strategy, take the steps, and make it happen. Now, Mars in Mula Nakshatra is going to be going down to the nth degree, looking at this particular scenario, right? In terms of how you might be able to come up with a breakthrough. Sun in Uttada Ashadha Nakshatra is a little bit weak. Its strength is waning, and it's going, I have to somehow summon that enthusiasm to push through this, right? But somewhere in the back of your mind, due to Mercury going retrograde through Shravana and then into Uttada Ashadha Nakshatra, you're not sure if you should be going in this direction. And you know that on one level, if you want to know the answer to that for sure, that you're gonna need to stop and tune into your intuition, which is something you don't really feel that you can afford at this particular moment in time. Until round about the 25th of January, when you're gonna find yourself in a scenario where, guess what? You don't really feel like you have a choice, right? So first, in leading up to this, right, during the early days of this particular transit, the Sun will be going over Pluto in Uttada Ashadha Nakshatra. Later on, round about the 25th, a few days either side, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but the energy will be in effect at that particular moment anyway. Mercury will also be conjuncting Pluto, taking you down into the depths, making you really take a look at those vulnerabilities, making you take a look at that doubt. And sometimes that's a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do necessarily because you've made the wrong choice. It could be a good thing to do because you've reassessed the situation, you've reevaluated, you haven't, found yourself flawed or taking the wrong approach or having faulty judgment, right? But you never would have come to that particular space if you didn't let yourself go into that doubt. And if you have somehow, taken a wrong step along the way, then this gives you a chance to understand that. In either of those instances, what you're left with is a renewed sense of resolve. Purva Ashadha Nakshatra brings invigoration, but it brings that invigoration through first cleansing and being able to take a look at what it is precisely that you're dealing with. And when you're caught up in the business of covering it up and afraid of somehow losing face, with a relationship or perhaps even with the public, then you find yourself in a scenario where if taking that honest look gives you an opportunity to reapproach the scenario in a completely different way. And if you could use a little bit of help finding the hope and the strength to clear through this particular scenario in your life and to honestly confront what you're confused about, I'd be more than happy to help you with that process. I do offer several different levels of astrological service. Again, all of these are available through the services page of my website, which you can find a link to above. That's going to do it for this look at Venus's transit through Purva Ashadha Nakshatra as it's going retrograde, which will take place, the transit through Purva Ashadha Nakshatra, I should say, because Venus is already retrograde and has been for a while, but the particular transit of Venus retrograde through Purva Ashadha Nakshatra, there we go, was I clear enough, is going to take place from the 13th through to the 29th of January 2022. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.